Welcome to the National Football Show. It's your boy Dan Sileo. Huh? Football season. Man, we're 24 hours less than away from the start of the season. I know it's exhibition football. It's Hall of Fame game. Steelers and Cowboys. I don't care, man. It's like Christmas coming this week, right? All the action, all the news. It's starting to fill up your sports page. Nobody wants to hear baseball and stupid NBA trades. Hey, what do you think of the Lakers? I think they're old. Yeah, but wait a minute. You know, the Lakers they're old, and they've got a papier-mâché guy. Wait a minute. The Lakers have the Carson Wentz of the NBA, okay, in Anthony Davis. He is the Carson Wentz of the NBA. Feel comfortable going into a season with that guy? But you see, they're old. When your star's an old dude, you're going to get old results. And I'm sitting around going, I have no interest. I know half the people who are listening to me now just went, okay, I'm out. He's talking NBA. Let me get the hell out of here. I'm with you. Major League Baseball. Outside of Shohei Ohtani, I don't know. What's the story? Yankees sucking. Red Sox doing good. The Rays, amazing. The amazing Rays. I tell all football executives this, and I ask them, how does a team like the Rays not spend a cent and beat the piss out of the Red Sox and Yankees every year in the AL East? How's that possible? You know what they say? Executive management that's off the charts. And even though is there a shocker that the guy in Los Angeles now pulling deals for the Dodgers, Andrew Friedman, used to be in Tampa for 15 years, right? He ran that Rays organization. Now it's Matt Silverman doing it. Rays have an organizational function where they have a structure in that building where they don't have to overpay for anybody. And they get rid of everybody. But guess what? It's about winning. Nobody falls in love with a player in Tampa. That's a key to the NFL, too. You never fall in love with a player. You fall in like with a player. Never go like this. Man, I really love – that's for fans to do. When you're an executive, you know when you draft somebody, okay, or you make a trade for somebody, you're either cutting them or you're going to trade them. There's no other ending to this. You think guys ride off into the sunset like John Elway, I win a Super Bowl MVP and go, hey, adios. You think that goes down like that? It doesn't. Management. Doing the right things. And I'm going to get to the point here in a second when it comes to the Colts. But the Rays, they shock the hell out of everybody. The Yankees sit around and the Yankees spend $200 million a year in payroll along with the Red Sox. You got $400 million in payroll and they can't beat the $65 million payroll raise. What? I mean, could you name a position player on the Tampa Bay Rays? Football guys going like this. Hell, dude, I could barely name people on the Buccaneers. Exactly. $65 million. And they're perennial first place or second place finishers in the AL East. Absolutely incredible. Management. All right, let's go into the topic of the day. I put a poll up on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show. And I said, what should Chris Ballard do? The general manager of the Colts. I think you have a couple options here. And I also think that you're sitting around with Frank Wright and you're sitting around with Jim Irsay, and you know what you're doing? You're going around the room and you're going to have this conversation. I'll get to the conversation here in a second. But here are your three options. Do you stay in-house with what you got? That Washington kid you drafted in the latter rounds? Do you make a call to the Bears and go get Nick Foles? Or do you make two calls? You ready? Do you call Phillip Rivers? You're 11-5 with him last year. And I'll tell you what, you shook the chain of the Bills last year in that playoff game, didn't you? Couple plays? I don't know. Colts may have won that ball game. That was a very close football game. Remember? Go back into that playoff game. You came away with this going like this. Man, that Colts team, they pushed him to the brink, man. That was a 57-minute ball game. They got right down to it. So I'm like this, man. I don't know, man. Rivers did really well last year, and he's like the least athletic guy in the history of the league at that position, quarterback. How about this one? Now, do me a favor. Don't start dumping on me when I say this. How about Drew Brees? How about you call Drew Brees up? Remember, he's a free agent. His contract had run out in New Orleans, so there's no economical ties to the Saints. There's no draft choice tie to the Saints. Why don't you just call Drew Brees and go, Drew, how's your health, man? You don't think Drew Brees for 4 games could take care of your football team? This Andrew Luck conversation, it's a pipe dream. That guy's not coming out of retirement. He's finished. And by the way, if Andrew Luck came out of retirement, I would trade Carson Wentz. Andrew Luck, the better player. Carson Wentz is not the better player than Andrew Luck. Are you kidding me? Andrew Luck's one of the top talents in the history of the league coming out of college. And he was a hell of a ball player in the NFL, and that guy was nowhere near what Andrew Luck was as a quarterback in the NFL. So if he came back, I'd be like this. Well, let's trade Wentz. Because I would take Andrew Luck all night and all week over Carson Wentz. The Drew Brees deal is pretty intriguing, isn't it? Now, could he come in there and learn a system like that right away? Remember something about what they're doing with Frank Wright's offense. Even with Carson Wentz, that Colts offense wasn't going to be a predominantly pass offense. That was going to be a run and then be third and short. It was going to kind of look like the Troy Aikman Cowboy team. Or you know what's even better? It was going to look a little more like that Eagle team that won the Super Bowl a few years ago. They were going to run the rock, play special teams, great defense, and run you off the clock. And you were hoping your quarterback didn't turn it over and keep you in third and short. That's the fundamentals, what Frank Reich is trying to do with that Colts offense. So he's actually looking for a Ryan Tannehill kind of guy. That's why Wentz fit the MO so perfect for what Frank was trying to build and still going to build around Carson Wentz. It's just been delayed. What you don't want to do is start trading assets away. We had Howard Eskin on yesterday, and Howard said, do not go after Nick Foles. You know, sequels usually aren't very good. Okay, there's a lot of truth to that. And, I mean, end of the day, I don't want to be fleeced for a pick for 3 weeks when I'm going to get my quarterback back. But I'll tell you something. You can't go into the year with the guy you have in the room, that kid Eason. You see the schedule? You could be 1-6 as you're closing in on the first half of the season, and your season's over. Now, there is a silver lining to that. What would happen if they decide at 1-6 or 1-7 that Wentz is ready to play and they go, you know what? Let's go into the NFL draft and we're going to select somewhere in like number 15. Then you're talking about bringing other assets into the football team. And do you go for a quarterback? I'll get to that here in a minute, but I want to start here with the options for Chris Ballard. See, you've got to put all this on the table. And as we reported here on the National Football Show last Friday, we knew that they were going to be in this dilemma here. Now, we're talking about 6 weeks. Now, remember something. That was 6 weeks from Monday surgery. So we're talking about roughly 3 or 4 games, 5 games, maybe coming back near the Jets week. But you could be clearly out of it by then. So do you get a substitute teacher? How much do you want to pay for that substitute teacher if you're Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts? Do you want to trade for Foles? See, I don't want to give any assets away because there's another dilemma that I have to think about here as I'm moving forward. And on top of that, if I go for Rivers and Brees, it costs me nothing. And I've got professional quarterbacks quarterbacking my team. And they're going to know the layout. Hey, you're in here just for a couple weeks. We'll pay you $1 million a week to come in here and quarterback. Who knows? Brees finds magic. And before you know it, you're not rushed to bring Wentz back or Rivers too. I'd rather go with an experienced guy, and with those two options, and really kind of my only options, without getting fleeced by the Bears, and thinking that maybe you could duplicate what you did in Philly, that's a big gamble. Last year, I was 11-5 with Rivers. That, to me, is where I'm leaning more. But if Breeze decided to say this, okay, I would seriously think about that. Breeze is a better winner. He protects the ball a little more. Guy's the greatest yardage passer in the history of the league. I don't know. I might want to bring that in. If it worked, at least I want to talk to him and bring him in for a workout. Now, here's something else Ballard has to think. You know what's funny? History repeats itself all the time, doesn't it? And we'll talk to our friend Ross Tucker from the Ross Tucker podcast. He's spectacular. That'll be at the bottom of the hour. You know, general managers traditionally think 5 years down the line, okay? They're looking at the team salary cap-wise. They're looking at the age of the players. They're looking even at evaluating position coaches, knowing that if you have success, people are going to come in and raid your coaching staff, and they're going to take these guys out of your coaching staff. So you're always preparing for change. What's unfortunate with Wentz's injury, Carson may be back in the same position as he was in Philadelphia next year. If you're Chris Ballard, are you doing your job if you don't evaluate a quarterback next year and take him in the NFL draft, knowing full well that that quarterback that I made a trade for and has a boatload of money? And for the record, let's know this. In 2022, the Colts can get out with not a lot of salary cap hit or damage out of that Wentz deal. If this guy can't get on the football field, the Colts, that contract has been restructured so that they can get out from under that and defer a lot of money out. If you're Ballard, do you go into the NFL draft next year and looking for a quarterback? Now, I don't know the kid from Oklahoma, kid at Oregon. There's a defensive player up there. I don't know very many of the quarterbacks that are going to come out this year. This last year had a big list of guys that people love, but everybody falls in love with nobodies. You know what I mean? And you find nobodies. Who thought Josh Allen coming out of Wyoming was going to be Josh Allen on what we're seeing right now, right? If you had to redo that draft, you might take Josh Allen number 1 overall now. So you don't, or how about Patrick Mahomes? Patrick Mahomes wasn't the number 1 overall selection. Chiefs had to move up to get the kid. He wasn't a top pick. So these guys can be found in the latter rounds. First, second, Joe Montana was a 3rd. Russell Wilson was a 3rd. Brady was a 6th. Kurt Warner was a free agent. I believe Aaron Rodgers was 25. Right? We're talking the elite guys in the game. These guys were later in the draft. However you think later is. Late 1st round, 3rd round, 2nd round. But Ballard's got to make a tough call because he may be putting Carson Wentz right back in the same position he had in Philly. I got to get a quarterback. Now, does that mean 1, 2, or 3? I don't know. Especially with the amount of money that you've put into the kid and faith that you've put into the kid. But you've got to address this because, he starts off his Colts era already hurt. I can't think that's the way you want to do that, especially if you're Wentz and you're trying to get rid of that stigma. All right. There was a move today. We were talking about it prior to going on the air here, and that is the fact that the Buccaneers have given Todd Bowles a 3-year contract extension. He's a defensive coordinator of the Buccaneers, and in my opinion, he constructed some of the best postseason defensive schemes I have seen in a long time. Think about what they did in the last couple of weeks of the NFL year, okay? They end up beating Aaron Rodgers in the NFC championship game. They beat Breeze in the playoffs as well. He constructed all of that. So you went and you did this. Check it out. So you beat Breeze, you beat Rodgers, and you beat Mahomes. And this is Todd Bowles, who was absolutely not given an opportunity to be a great head coach in New York. I say this to you all the time. It's the landfill of coaches and quarterbacks, the New York Jets. You go there, you're not. Do you know that the New York Jets, in the history of the franchise, you want something? The history of the franchise, including Weeb Ewbank, who won Super Bowl III, they don't have one head coach with a 500 record. I mean, they don't produce winning teams for any consistency, for any long period of time. That's remarkable. The Jets are a train wreck. So did you really think Todd Bowles was going to get the opportunity to go in there? And look, you know what happens? A lot of the African-American head coaching candidates, they get the crappy jobs like this. Look at the thing that David Culley in Texas has now. That Houston Texans team, you think he really has a chance of succeeding? He's a stopgap coach now. Tyrod Taylor is going to keep your job. David Culley's days as a head coach in the NFL are numbered already. The only way he can save his gig, if I were David Culley, I would go to the McNair family and say, we got to start Deshaun Watson. I don't care if he wants to or not. Fine his ass. Because my job, it depends on it. You brought me in here, and I was thinking I was getting Deshaun. You know what I got? I got a stand-in Tyrod Taylor. No disrespect. Tyrod is very, very respected in the National Football League. But you're killing the opportunity there. His days are already numbered. I think they're going to give him a true opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL. Come on, man. How can you be a true coach in the NFL when you don't even know who your starter is going into the 2021 season? It's another two. That's another issue. If you don't know who your guy is going into camp, you don't have a guy. And that truly means that you don't have a season. We're going to have an open quarterback competition. Really? That tells every guy in the locker room, well, we're playing for the draft. That's what we're doing. We're playing for the draft. All right, let's a little bit more here. So Tua Tagovailoa. You know, I say this. I like the kid a lot. I think the kid, you know, I thought he was really a great-looking prospect when he was at Alabama. And I don't ever do this comment. Well, he played with so many great players. How do you know he's good? Come on, man. Tom Brady's playing with so many good players in Tampa. How do you know it's not more them than him? Come on. That's a dumb – if you play with great players, that's a great thing. That's not anything you should, like, start docking on how you evaluate a quarterback. Does he get the ball to him? Yeah. Well, then shut up. You know, more people rip a process than they do results. You know, I don't want to do it that way. Well, how do you know it's not going to work? Oh, because my way does. Well, not every situation's the same, dude. Every year's different. That's what every coach tells you, right? Well, every year may have a different theory on how to get to that result you're looking for. You may not have the same personnel you did a year ago. You may not have the same grouping. You may not have the same offensive or defensive coordinator. Everything's different every year. So to sit there and try to jam that square peg in round holes, that's how coaches get their asses fired. Not evolving their offense. Not evolving their defense. And so when I'm watching Tua and I'm watching him play, you know, you're hearing people in Miami. There's no doubt they're kicking tires still on the Deshaun Watson situation, and they're keeping an eyeball on that. You know, they're keeping an eyeball on what's going on in Green Bay. Could you see Aaron Rodgers down in Miami next year? I don't know. It could be a place for him. You know, you go to Florida, state income tax and all that. Got a pretty good football team. Got a good coach. Pretty fair organization. When left alone. Could that be something? You're not going to win a Super Bowl down there like you are in Green Bay. But I don't really think Aaron Rodgers next year is going to be looking to win a Super Bowl. I think he's going to be doing what J.J. Watt did. He's going to be looking for, you know, a peace of mind. You think Aaron Rodgers is really looking to win a Super Bowl, or do you think he's looking for peace of mind? Okay? That's how I read that guy. He wants to be happy playing the game. That doesn't necessarily mean winning Super Bowls. Tom Brady's driven by Super Bowls, okay? And he's driven by playing the game, but he's more driven by winning. I don't really, Aaron Rodgers and LeBron James have a lot in common. I personally don't think LeBron James is driven by winning. That's why he's 4-6 in finals. I think Jordan was driven by winning. I think Tiger was driven by winning. And don't you can see those guys, right? They're usually jerks because they never have a good time. They barely have any personality whatsoever. Hell, we didn't see Brady's personality until these last 2 years. So, again, to Tua, this is what I would say with the Dolphins. Hey, man, if I were them, I would look at the first half of the season. And if I wasn't seeing any progress, I would sit there and start doing this. You know what? You don't have the 3-year plan like you did in the past. You just don't have a 3-year plan. That's not what coaches get any longer. You got like a 2-year plan and showing progress, and most notably at the QB position. If you're not showing progress at the quarterback position, they're going to fire your ass. And they're going to bring one of these Cliff Kingsbury guys in or these Sean McVay guys. They don't want to sit around and wait. Owners are not going to do that any longer, not with the money that's being generated in the league and not the opportunity that you get to turn your franchise around in that league. So if you're Chris Greer, the GM, and you're Brian Flores, the head coach, I'd be telling Tua this. Dude, I don't mean to be a jackass here, but you got 8 games to get this team on your back and prove to people that you're going to be the future of our football team. I may not say it in that many ways, but I'm going to let him know on how I'm coaching him. You need to get this right, and we need to see improvement. When I watched him play last year, I was like this. It was sporadic. There is no way the Miami Dolphins are sold on Tua Tagovailoa. No way. They may like the kid. Hey, and anytime you hear coaches or GMs or scouts saying, I really like the kid and he's got a great sense of leadership. Anytime you hear those two things brought up first instead of great skill set, they're not sold on the kid's ability. They're sold on the intangibles, but not the ability. Very seldom do you hear this. This guy is so gifted and so smart. That's when you start doing, okay, that's your guy. All right. We're going to lay out all this with Ross Tucker from the Ross Tucker podcast and get his spin on everything, on what's going on. Carson Wentz, what does Chris Ballard do? What direction do they do? We'll talk to him next. You keep it right here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
but as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Welcome back to the National Football Show. Dan Sileo. Someone in the chat room mentioned Sam Howell, North Carolina. You're right. Kid at OU also could be your top two guys that potentially could be top pro prospects going into the 2022 NFL draft. That kid, would you be afraid to go back into that program again after what you saw with Mitchell Trubisky? I'm never hesitant to do that. However, look at programs when it comes to producing particular positions. Running back, Georgia, D and O lines at Alabama, Ohio State, USC. They're notorious for doing that. The law of averages. And again, I know people immediately say, dude, recruit the player, not the school. I understand that. And from what I've seen of the kid's a really good-looking football player too. And I would say he's probably a grade up for Mitchell Trubisky. You got to remember something about Trubisky. Trubisky has a winning record as a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's not that he didn't win games. He just wasn't consistent enough to win games. Ross Tucker will join us in a couple minutes from the Ross Tucker podcast. I do want to throw this out. The Hall of Fame game is on Thursday. You're not going to see a lot of starters. Roethlisberger, from what I'm understanding, is not going to play. And you're not going to see Dak, obviously, because, they're going to want to rest Dak Prescott. Shoulder is sore. And I said this yesterday to you, and there's no question that when you're an NFL player, you're a football player, you could do all the workouts you want. You can run the treadmill. You can, run 2-3 miles. You can lift all weights in the world. You can be the strongest guy on the planet. Until you're in football activities and you're throwing to receivers, you're moving around. That's why I think there's a lot more injuries earlier in the year, because they don't do enough practicing. There's not enough two-a-days. That's why you see a lot more lower extremity injuries in the NFL today than you did back in the day. And again, I'm not sounding Neanderthal Dan, but when you have 3 months to prepare for an upcoming NFL season, you're going to get the body in football shape, not just in conditioning to be able to go 60 minutes in a game. There's difference when you're talking about conditioning and football conditioning. And then you combine that with the new AstroTurf. That's why you see a lot of lower extremity injuries, ankle sprains, knee sprains, hip flexors, groin injuries. Watch, every year it is that, and it's not because the players are lesser today than they were back then. And I'm not doing this. Oh, the guys back in the old days, they were really tough, and, they ate nails before they went out. Nobody drank water. Kind of true in a way. But that's not how it worked, man. Okay? When you had 2-a-days or you had 3-a-days in the NFL back in the day, your body was in shape to play a game. Those 2-a-days in the NFL, there were no restrictions on contact. So you had more one-on-one drills. You had more inside drill. You had more physical contact in these camps than you do today. And that's clearly why you see guys like look at Dak. Dak had half the year off, or a little over half the year, right? And he comes back and his shoulder sore. That's to be expected. Phil Simms the other day made the comment that when he hurt his foot the year before, he needed a full year to come back and have an opportunity to play like he needed to play at the position, because he had been off for a while because he just couldn't move around on the foot. That's basically, again, where Dak and a lot of the players are as they get into the first quarter pole of the season. So, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I think you see a lot more injuries today. There's just not a lot of physical contact in these camps any longer. That's why you see a lot of lower extremity injuries. That's why you'll see a lot of the games at the beginning of the exhibition season where you're not going to see the stars like in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday. All right, let's get into a guy who's been into many of these camps from the Ross Tucker podcast, our dear friend Ross Tucker, and we appreciate him coming aboard. And Ross, I throw this out to everybody. You know, I was not surprised. Phil Simms was on with us the other day, and he wasn't surprised. You know, today, and I don't want to sound like old guy, get off my lawn, dude, but, I mean, you just don't have the physical contact that you used to have back in the day when you're going through two-a-days. And that's why you see a lot of lower extremity injuries to a lot of these players, because they're physically ready to go, but they're not really football ready to go. Is that fair?
Yeah, I've heard that theory, Sileo. I'm not sure I buy it. Now, the first part about it, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I was at Eagles camp on Monday. I do their preseason games, and the first 4 days, they were no pads, right? Then they got an off day. Then I was there, and they were having their 5th day of no pads. And then yesterday was their first day in pads. And I guess today is their 2nd day. It's a lot different than it was when you played, certainly when I played. I think it's better in the sense that they're not beating the guys' bodies up as much. They can hopefully make it through the 17-game season better. You know, they can have longer careers. You know, I don't think we needed to do, you know, my rookie year with Marty Schottenheimer, Silly. I don't think we needed to do 2-3-hour practices, full pads every day for the first 12, 13 days. I mean, I tore my right MCL. I broke my left hand. I remember saying to my parents, like, I'm only doing 1 year. Like, if I make it, I'm only doing 1 year. Like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, I don't know how these guys are making it. Both those things happened my rookie training camp. But I just don't think, look, it was good for me because it was like only the strong survive, right? Yeah. Like mentally tough. And I think that was to my advantage. But, you know, looking back on it now, I don't know that having those 2 practices for the first 12 days, and a lot of guys were getting hurt, I don't know that really helped them decide who made the team or not. I'm not sure what they really got out of that.
I tell you, man, I had 3-a-days with Ray Perkins, and hey, Ross, I'm laying there going for the third practice. We had 2 weeks of this, and I'm going like this. There's not a guy out here who's going to give full max effort because he can't. More guys are going to get hurt, and to your point, you were right on with that. Let me slide into this. I talked to Frank Wright last Friday. You know, I reached out to him, Ross, because of the COVID scenario, and he and I have been friends a long time, over 30 years. And, you know, I posted on Friday that they were going to have probably surgery on Carson Wentz's foot, and they end up coming to that conclusion. Do you agree right now that Chris Ballard and Frank Reich have maybe 3 decisions to make, or 3 choices that they can go, 3 avenues? Phillip Rivers, stay in-house, trade for Foles, or the outlier, and I'm not going Andrew Luck, I don't know, maybe call Drew Brees. I mean, if you look at that first part of that season, you could easily be 1-7 by the time you get to the Jets game. How do you think they should go about this?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I actually interviewed Greg Cosell today, the NFL Films guru, for my show, the Ross Tucker podcast, and he thinks that they should go with Jacob Eason over a guy like Nick Foles. And I guess I tend to agree with him. I mean, I do agree that there are 3 plausible scenarios: Rivers, or some other retired old guy, Foles or trade for somebody else, or Eason. You know, they drafted Eason in the 4th round last year. He came in. He's got a lot of physical ability. He's been in the system for a year. He's going to get all these reps for the next few weeks. Like, let him play. Let him play. Now, the reality is, I think, Sileo, they're going to let him play a bunch in the first preseason game, maybe the second. And if it's going pretty well, I think they'll stand pat. If there are major concerns, I think they'll either get Nick Foles in, because he obviously is a guy that knows Reich's system very well and Reich knows him very well, or they get the bat phone and call up Phillip Rivers. I mean, listen, I know Phillip Rivers is coaching high school football. I got it, and that's what he wants to do. But this is a unique scenario. I'm pretty confident the assistant coach could handle it for the first 3 or 4 weeks while Rivers is playing, starting for the Indianapolis Colts. Or, you know, the flip side is, what about a couple years ago, the Josh McCown plan? I mean, they could have Rivers be on every Zoom meeting during the week.
Yeah.
And then Friday night after his high school game, take the private jet up to Indy. He's there for Saturday walkthrough. Sunday he plays, flies back. I mean, is it ideal? No. Is it maybe going to give you better results than JAKIB Eason? Yeah, maybe.
How about this, too, for Chris Ballard, the GM? You know, I mean, maybe history looks like it may repeat itself here like it did in Philly. Think about this for a second, Ross. I mean, he doesn't even make it through the first week of the season or preseason, and that's Carson Wentz. Do you now look at this potentially? Because you know GMs look down the line. If you're looking into the future and you're going to kind of rub the crystal ball here, do you go into the draft, say you do get out to 1-7 and you hold pat Eason, and then you decide not to put Wentz on the field because there's no point in putting him on the field if you're 1-7. That pick's not going to become a first rounder for the Eagles anyway. It's going to be a 2. So you're sitting there and you're kind of maybe going to pick around 15. I don't know, the kid from North Carolina. Do you go into the draft next year and just like what they did up in San Francisco, do you look at a quarterback knowing that the history, watch this, I mean, Ross, a rib injury, MCL, ACL, concussion, foot injury. This guy hasn't been in the league 20 years. This guy's been in the league like a little bit over a handful of years. What do you do if you're Ballard?
Missed the whole preseason his rookie year with a back, too. I would say if you're Ballard, now listen, let's see when Wentz comes back. Let's see how he plays. You know, Ballard's smart enough to know he doesn't need to make any of these decisions now. However, it's probably front office malpractice if they don't at least start to consider their quarterback options down the line, because you have to look at Carson's injury history and combine that with how poorly he played last year. I mean, Sileo, I do Eagles pregame, and I really like the guy. And I thought his first 4 years, I thought 17, 18, 19, I mean, 17, he should have been the MVP until he got hurt. 18 and 19, he was a top 10 guy in my mind, no question. But last year, I don't know what happened. I mean, I thought he was the worst quarterback in the NFL. Now, there were major issues around him at receiver, on the offensive line. I get that. But Sileo, he led the NFL in sacks and interceptions and didn't play the last 4 games. I mean, think about other sports, baseball and basketball. You don't play 25% of the games and still lead the league in 2 categories? It's not good.
Ross, do you think that Carson Wentz trusted in Philadelphia Frank Reich more than he did Doug Peterson?
You know, it's tough to say that because I'll tell you what, with Reich, it was like all positive. And then Reich leaves, and then Wentz comes, you know, and then Wentz is still there. It was a little bit more up and down. And part of that was Carson. Part of it was the team around him wasn't as good. But even the next year, you know, he got hurt, and Foles had to come in again. So I think it was the situation more than trusting any coach. I mean, listen, if the coach, you know, when you were at Miami, right, winning national championships, and then, you know, Jimmy Johnson leaves and Erickson comes in and you guys stunk and you played worse after that, you would trust Jimmy more than you would Erickson, right? Like
completely.
Yeah, I mean, but part of that I think is just because of how Wentz played before Reich left and then the injuries.
Do you think Zach Ertz is a top 10 tight end still, and that's why the Eagles are holding on to him still? Do you think that he'll be on the opening day roster? I know Howie has made that point that it looks like he may be on the opening day roster, or do you think it's going to be somebody like Buffalo or maybe even Jacksonville to maybe get another component down there for Trevor Lawrence to try to be able to find him some more weapons? Because obviously they haven't gotten in return what they're looking for. They want to pick, it looks like, and that's why they've kept him. How do you see that playing out?
Well, think of it this way, right? Last year at this time, Ertz was not happy because both Kittle and Kelsey had gotten new contracts. Ertz wanted a new contract. Ertz was talked about in the same vein as those guys. Now, I think most people had it Kittle 1, Kelsey 2, or Kelsey 1, Kittle 2. But then Ertz was like somewhere 3, 4, or 5. I don't know which one he was, Sileo, but he was one of them, 3, 4, 5. He was talked about as, well, his contract should be around what theirs are, blah, blah, blah. And last year was a disaster for him and the rest of the team. But I don't know how you go from being talked about as a top 3 or 4, certainly top 5 guy, and then now not be a top 10 guy. I just don't believe – what is he, 30 years old? I just don't believe he drop off that much of a cliff. He had an injury last year, but his game is not like a speed game. I mean, his game is he is super smart, super savvy, and I really believe that that should sustain for years to come.
I think he's a Jason Witten type guy.
Yes.
You know, I think he's like that guy. He's not going to be outstanding in the run game, but he's going to be a guy, like you said, that's going to grit it out, run the seam well. He's going to beat most linebackers in the league. And the quarterback play, as you've been saying here, Ross, that's the thing that's dipped off. Couple last questions here for you. Do you agree that the next head football coach in Tampa Bay is going to be Todd Bowles?
Boy, at this point, it certainly seems like it, right? With the deal they just gave him, although Arians keeps talking like he's not going anywhere anytime soon. And if you're Arians, why would you? I mean, it's the best team he's ever coached. So that's a tough one to answer. I think the Bucs would like that, but I think it'd be surprising if somebody didn't offer Bowles a job after this year, and then it'll be up to Bowles whether he wants to do it or not.
You know, the San Francisco story, finally here, Ross, the San Francisco story, you're hearing John Lynch, you're hearing Kyle Shanahan now. Holy cow, man. And you know this like every player does. And what they're doing is, in my opinion, what John Lynch is doing, I think he's trying to be a salesman to the league right now. Trey's playing so well. This is not like Green Bay with Jordan Love. Our guy's ready to play. If you want to come and get Jimmy Garoppolo, instead of coming with a 2, you better roll in here with a 1 because we're not giving him up. He looks the best. You know, you're overselling the guy for a reason because you're trying to up the value. You think they're selling and putting him out there for sale for somebody to try to come and grab him because you know people are going to panic and they're going to want a quarterback. The history obviously is an issue when it comes to his health, but you're talking about a 25-8 guy counting the playoffs that if he's healthy, he's a winner. What do you do there if you're 49erville?
Yeah, so, you know, when a guy like John Lynch goes on Adam Schefter's podcast and says that this is the best Jimmy G's ever played, in August here, my antenna goes up, bro. I mean, I've been doing this. I retired in 2008. My rookie year was 2001. I've been doing this a decently long time now. I don't really believe in coincidences. You know, when teams are really talking up a guy, that's usually when they're really trying to move him to get something in return. So I don't know. It's just the way that sounds. I don't know if Jimmy G's long for San Fran. You know, it's kind of like the Bears. Have you ever seen a third-string quarterback have a press conference?
Never.
I mean, have you ever seen a third-string quarterback have a press conference like Nick Foles did the other day? I mean,
hey, Ross, have you ever seen a player in another uniform, politician, for a job somewhere else? I'm watching this thing. I'm going, he's a member of the Bears, right? I was stunned when I saw that.
It will. I've never seen anything like it. And look, the Bears are trying to get out of that contract. I don't blame them. It was just hilarious. I mean, the coincidence of Carson Wentz having surgery. Today's media availability, the press conference will be Nick Foles. It's just like, it's uncanny, man.
Hey, finally, I'll leave you with this. You talk about not buying anything and antennas going up. We used to play against Lou Holtz all the time when he was at Notre Dame. Just Miami team. 11-0. And I go, Lou, you're undefeated. You're undefeated. Don't give me that. These guys are the best and the fastest guys I've ever. Oh, I don't know how we're going to do it. And you're going like this. Dude, you're 10-0. Ross, I love you, brother. Ross Tucker podcast, everyone. Make sure you check it out. Ross, tell them how they can find it.
Yeah, certainly. Just follow me on social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, at Ross Tucker NFL. And then it's the same place all the other podcasts are. I got a sports betting one, even money, a fantasy one, fantasy feast. Whatever you need for your football fix, I got it. Gosh, I sound like a drug dealer. Anyway, like the guys you play with at the U back in the 80s, right, Sileo? RossTucker.com.
Thank you, brother. Love you, man. I appreciate you doing it.
All right, see ya.
You got it, man. Ross Tucker, man. We'll take a brief time out. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull beef jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Dan Sileo, National Football Show. Thank my friend Ross Tucker for coming aboard. People commenting here today saying that JAKIB Eason should get a shot. 4th round draft choice. You know, it's funny. People are also saying I love it when you see smart fans, then they put a story together with a take. Somebody just posted Jacob Eason should get a chance. Russell Wilson got a chance. He was a third rounder for the Seahawks. How do you know what you got here in this fourth rounder if you don't put him on the field? I mean, isn't that also a shot at your scouting department? I mean, a fourth round draft choice is not a small pick. It's a premium pick. When you're 1 to 4, those are pretty good picks. Obviously, 1, 2, and 3. You know what's funny? The most successful round in NFL history. What round do you think it is? It's the third round. The third round is the most productive round in pro football history. It's not the first round. Third round. Because the economics are also tied into it. You're not overpaying traditionally for people in the third round. You're going best available guy. You're not going need. See, you know what's funny? In the first round, you're going need. So what does that mean when you go need? You overvalue a position. That's why the quarterback position always gets over-evaluated at the top end of the first round of the draft. And you're looking up there and you're going, God, that guy sucked. It's because you over-evaluated him. He wasn't as good as you thought he was. Like here, get this. So when you're looking at Sam Darnold when he came out of USC, okay, and Sam Darnold comes out of Southern Cal, you think this kid Zach Wilson for the Jets, you think he was a higher prospect coming out of college than what Sam Darnold was coming out of USC? Absolutely not. But somehow in that process, we're doing it. Or how about Dwayne Haskins? Go back. Joel Klatt thought he was going to be a starter in Washington for 10 years. And I kept saying this about Dwayne Haskins. And by the way, I'm really glad to hear that things are really starting to turn around for him in Pittsburgh. We'll talk more about him a little bit later on, and I'll hit on him. I'm glad to hear that. But I always said that he was a green apple on the tree that didn't get a chance to ripen at Ohio State, and he came out of the draft too soon. And when he got into the draft, he got to the Washington team, he was clearly not mentally ready to play the position or be the face of a franchise. Plain and simple, that's exactly how it played out. And now he has to learn how to be a professional. And he's in the right place for it, though. He's clearly in the right place for that. So maybe Jacob Eason should get the opportunity to play because you know what? You're looking at your scouting department. You gave him a fourth-round grade. That's not a bad grade. Fourth round, okay? Those guys traditionally make the ball team. Remember what I told you. Half of the NFL is undrafted or lower draft choices other than the top 3 rounds. You got to have people on your roster so that you can fill out a salary cap. Can't all have first-round draft choices making $10 million a year. Or you're not going to be able to field the team. Special teams, defense, all plays into how you build a roster. You're not going to build it all with I tell people all the time one of the great secret sauces to New England. Can you name me one first-round draft choice at the skilled positions that New England won a Super Bowl with when Tom Brady was there? Can you name me one? Let's see, Edelman and Amendola. Those guys were low draft choices. Wes Welker was a trade. Gronk was a second. Okay, they didn't win a championship with Moss, and he was an acquisition from the Raiders. I think that was a 6th-round draft choice, and what they gave up a guy from Syracuse for it. I mean, right? New England didn't win with premium dudes. They won with dudes. I'm talking their skill set guys. I mean, that's how they kept their economics down. They built their defense, and they had a great special teams. That's why they always led the NFL in special teams. Hey, and think of this for a second, too. You know what some of you are saying about giving Jacob Eason the shot there in Indianapolis? Patriots gave a 6th-round draft choice an opportunity to take the reins from a guy they drafted high and gave a gigantic, number 2 in Drew Bledsoe. And when they realized that this kid's better, and they made that call that he was better, it panned out because their scouting department was right. Now, I always tell everyone, as great as the Patriots are in getting Brady, they still missed on him 5 times. They did. They still missed on the kid 5 times. I think it's very interesting also what Ross said about, let me slide over to Zach Ertz here. I think it's interesting in what he said about Ertz. He doesn't believe Ertz's ability's gone down. The play at the offense has gone down. And a receiver, just like a tight end, you're only tied into who's getting you the football. And if you've got turmoil in your offense, think about this for a second too. In the last 2 years, how many times did he had Deshaun Jeffries and Jackson on the field at the same time as him? And you had a functional running game, and you had a quarterback playing consistent football. In the last 2 years, where did he have that? Then you lose Reich in 18. Then you have more people in the front office coming down on the head coach. You got people in the front office wanting receiver coaches fired. You got everybody in the building now trying to get their piece of the Lombardi trophy. And here's a guy, then he gets hurt on top of that. You really think this guy has sucked in the last 2 years to a point where, just like Ross said, I mean, you're talking about him. If he's not the top 3, he's surely in the top 5 tight ends when it comes to catching the football. And I made the comparison that I think Zach Ertz is like Jason Witten. Whatever you think Jason Witten is, he's what I think Ertz is. He's never going to be a spectacular blocker in the run game. He's never going to be dynamic on being able to beat up defensive ends. But what he is going to be able to do is he knows how to run in space. He knows how to get off the line of scrimmage. He knows how to put himself in a position to catch footballs. And he had a great relationship with his quarterback once his quarterback was able to get him the football. I mean, when Ertz and Wentz were on the same page, they had chemistry in the offense and in the play calling. They were dynamic, man. You know, if you thought Carson Wentz was a Pro Bowl quarterback then in 17, you surely thought Zach Ertz was one of the top 3 tight ends in all the NFL then. You had to think that because he was making the plays to really move the sticks for what the Eagles were doing. And so I agree. I don't think this guy, and I also think that's why Howie Roseman, the general manager of the Eagles, has had a problem letting this guy go. You know, he could easily just cut him and save himself some money on the cap too. But he wants something in return for this guy. He thinks someone's going to panic like the Jags or the Bills. It just shows you, if you're watching how this thing is playing out now in Indianapolis, there is no doubt that teams are sitting around going, geez, what do I do here at the quarterback position here? Do I go and get Jimmy G? You know, I've been telling you, Jimmy G's injuries would frighten me. You know what? Somebody watched this yesterday, and he was an NFL scout. And you know what he told me? He goes like this: when you're an NFL scout, you're not caring. Jimmy G's salary cap number will not kill you if you trade for that deal he has right now. It's economically viable. And if you're just bringing him in and you think you have a Super Bowl team, you bring his ass in right now. Talking about 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you're just building the team for someone else. So this is why Roseman, in my opinion, is held on to Zach Ertz. I think he's held on to him for a reason, because he thinks someone's going to come calling and they're going to put some true meat behind a pick. I don't know what he's looking for. I haven't been able to figure it out. I had heard that the Buffalo Bills offered a 2 and a 3, and he didn't budge on that. And I would have budged on that. 2 and a 3 for Ertz. See, when he saw what the market value was, Howie didn't want to move off it. He thinks he can get more. Remember, you know, I agree with Ross Tucker. I think this guy's a good football player still. I just think you have poor quarterback play right now going on in the last 2 years in Philadelphia. So I thought it was interesting, too, in what he said with Rivers. You can make it work with Rivers. Remember something. Here's a guy that was a kid of a coach. He understands what the future is there in Indy. He knows that he's going to be going in as a substitute teacher. So there's going to be no drama for the quarterback in Wentz. You're bringing a guy in to hold down the fort for about 5 weeks until you can get your guy back in the room. Is that what you want to do? I think that makes a lot of sense. But Ross is more in line of giving the kid an opportunity. So, listening to him, listening to you guys, and putting it all together here, more I'm leaning, as I was before, leaning towards Rivers, but I'm leaning to what the Colts may do is, you're right, they may just stick with JAKIB Eason, move forward and see what they have, because the silver lining is, say they do get out to a 1-7 start, they're going to pick somewhere 15th next year in the draft anyway. Maybe they can trade up and get that kid from Carolina. So we'll take a brief time out. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull beef jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 to 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Hour 2, Dan Sileo, National Football Show. Funny, usually I like to get 2 people on the show, but everybody's going to Canton. And everyone wants to watch the dual classes give their speeches on Saturday for the Hall of Fame. I don't know about the Hall of Fame game on Thursday, Steelers and Cowboys. I think it's going to be pretty cool that we get a chance to see NFL football again. That's kind of like the kickoff to the upcoming season. Everybody starts getting their juices going again. We're all good, right? So everybody's going to be there. Oh, I know. Mask, this, that. I could care less. I so could care less. Do your own life. I'm talking about the football season. It's about football for me. I don't like, add that into my world like you guys do. Or some of you, I should say. I don't add that into my world. And for the record, it's none of your business. So let me go here. You know, when you have a car or a house that you want to sell, man, we really don't want to move out of this thing. Or, I love this car. I've had this car for 20 years. It's been our baby. We love it so much. Look at it. We keep it up. Here's all the paperwork. I mean, it's just been a reliable car, reliable house, and you're selling something. And what you're doing is you're giving all the positive spin that you can possibly give on something that's easy for you to give your emotion to. When you're trying to sell something that you love, you're not coming off as fake. I love this house. I lived here my whole life. I was raised here. This car, I've had it since my daughter was born. And we just had a tough time trying to replace it. Well, why are you getting rid of it? Well, I think it's just time for us to, look for a different vehicle. That's all. And, maybe this would be a perfect car or a second car for someone in someone's family that they could enjoy. Or why you want to get rid of your house. Well, maybe somebody with a family. My wife and I are getting on in years. Maybe somebody with a family would really enjoy a house with a pool, a deck. You guys have a great time. I don't know, something like that. And you're not lying. John Lynch, the general manager of the 49ers, and Kyle Shanahan of the 49ers are doing their best sales job that they could possibly do when it comes to trying to sell Jimmy Garoppolo to the NFL. Remember something here. If you had Jimmy Garoppolo's postseason, you're talking about a 25-8 player. Okay? Like 25-8 as a starting quarterback in the NFL in San Francisco. We talked about, most teams are not going to sit there and go like this. Well, in 3 years, is a guy, nobody cares about 3 years. They care about 3 minutes from now. So Lynch and them are doing this. Trey Lance, I guess, has looked spectacular, and they haven't even had full pads yet. Okay. Like Ross Tucker said last hour, my antenna also goes up. Okay. What are they trying to do? What they're trying to do right now is they are not talking to media people. They're not talking to the fans. They're not even talking to people that cover the sport. They're talking to other executives in the NFL that we think so highly of Jimmy G. Remember something on what they've put that player through. And I can tell you something. If I was a general manager and I've been watching Jimmy Garoppolo handle himself publicly, they kicked the tires on Brady. They were kicking the tires on Matthew Stafford. They were kicking the tires on Deshaun Watson. And this is all in light of Garoppolo with a 25-8 record and took your team to a Super Bowl. Sounds like a lot of disrespect to me. They're not going to say it. And get this, more importantly, Jimmy Garoppolo's not been saying it. Jimmy Garoppolo knows the power of keeping his mouth shut right now because what he wants to show a general manager, that he's a team guy, that he is a person that understands that this is about winning and not whining. Green Bay, you have winning and whining. San Francisco, I have not heard Jimmy Garoppolo whine one time. That's brownie points with me. I'm a GM going, man, this guy here, man, he conducts himself like a true professional. That's why the 49ers are so hesitant to dump his ass. They don't want to dump the guy because the guy's showing leadership. He's working with the kid. The Niners have been honest with him. So Lynch is being honest with everyone. We love Jimmy G. We ain't going to give him away. We invested in Trey Lance. Look, you don't trade up to number 3 and not play the kid. And they're also sending this out, unlike they are in Green Bay with Jordan Love. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are pretty comfortable saying publicly right now, if Garoppolo's not here or not ready to go because of injury, we're very comfortable putting him in right now. You know, he must be inspiring that locker room too, the young kid. Now, as you know as well as anybody, when you're in a company or you're in a profession where your bosses revere you, respect you, pay you, you know without a doubt, that's a good place to be. It's not exactly Camelot, but I'll tell you what, you could find a lot worse places, especially when somebody doesn't want you. And the Niners want you. The Niners want both these guys. They love both these guys. Hey, how hard do you think it was for the 49ers when they had to get rid of Joe Montana for Steve Young? Ed DeBartolo, the then owner of the Niners, said it was the most difficult decision he ever made in his life. And he even walked it back and offered Joe the starting job. And you know what Joe said to him? Nah, too much damage has been done and too much water's over the bridge. I'm leaving. Went to Kansas City, brought the Chiefs to the AFC Championship game. That's how good that dude was. Chiefs. Do you know the next quarterback to take the Chiefs to an AFC Championship game was? Yeah, you got it, Patrick Mahomes. It was Montana before that. You're like, wait, Montana played with the Chiefs? Yeah. So I love what they're doing. They're showing public respect for Garoppolo and how he's acted. You don't go out there because you know what most coaches, you know what most organizations do, and it's a failure move. The young guy's so great looking. Holy crap, it's incredible. And they don't even mention the other guy. Kyle Shanahan saying Garoppolo's never looked better. Really? Not even a Super Bowl year? Yeah. He's just the young kid's making him play better. They're stroking both guys. They're getting their cake and they're eating it. That's good front office and good coaching. That's how you do it. Now, do you buy into it? Of course not. Haven't even seen them play in the regular season, let alone a preseason football game. Oh, it's like this guy is a great painter. Has he painted a painting yet? No, but he'll get there. What? Really? Yeah, but you haven't seen him doing it. No, he's a great director. I saw him at film school at USC, and he was just, him and Singleton were spectacular. And I knew they would be. Yeah, well, I know Singleton's work. I'm sorry, I don't know Jenny Blow's work. Oh, no, but he's going to be good. Well, he hasn't directed a movie yet? No, I'll go, okay, let me know when he does. That's the philosophy NFL guys will have about a quarterback that's getting promoted the way he's getting in San Francisco in Trey Lance. Okay, let's see when he's in there. And he's got a defensive end from the Packers coming down on him. Let's see how he handles himself when he's got pressure or he's losing. That's more so where, okay, that's when you make your bones with your football team. And know this, the other thing too is, let's see what kind of courage he has. One of the things I thought that really stopped Baker Mayfield from his progress was that I thought he lacked courage in the pocket. As soon as he felt pressure, what would he do? Take off. Those are the guys that don't have a lot of courage in the pocket. You ever watch Brady in the pocket get hit or Manning get hit or Aaron Rodgers get hit? When you're an offensive lineman or even when you're a D lineman and you see that guy getting pancaked like that and those quarterbacks are in the pocket, like we had Phil Simms on earlier in the week, that is a man. That guy's going to stand in that pocket and he's going to take hits. And everybody on the field looks up and goes, remember, there's only one of them dudes, 2 D linemen, 2 DEs, 2 O linemen. When it comes to tackles, guards, okay, 1 center, I get it. That's why it's an important position on your offense, right next to the quarterback. When you got a guy that could take it, those guys are special dudes, man. All right. I want to get into in the last hour, I mentioned Dwayne Haskins. And I'm really loving what I'm hearing from Mike Tomlin, the head football coach of the Steelers. And from what I understand, he's not going to be starting on Thursday against the Cowboys. It's okay. I'm going to tell you why he's not starting. Why do you think a guy like that is not starting? Why do you think he's not starting? Because he hasn't built up enough equity with the organization yet. You see, no one's ever disputed Dwayne Haskins and his ability. Everybody's disputed his character, his immaturity, his inability to lead. Those are all essential parts to being a quarterback. Look, this is what I don't want as my starting quarterback in the NFL. You know what I don't want? I don't want a whiner. I don't want a guy who's not a leader. I don't want a guy who can't take hits. I don't want a guy who's always bitching about everything. I want a guy that's going to go out there and lead. I'm not saying you can't be vocal. But most importantly, I want a guy that's going to win. Haskins has to do what? What is the one thing Dwayne Haskins has to prove to people in the league to get another shot like Ryan Tannehill did? Trust. Simply put, trust. Hey, Jalen Hurts in Philly, do you know what he has that a lot of quarterbacks don't have going into an opportunity to become a face of a franchise? He has got a fan base's support. Would we agree Jalen Hurts probably has 75% of the Philadelphia – hey, wait a minute. Let me back that up. Maybe 65% of the Philadelphia Eagle fan base backing him up. Why? Because they hated Wentz so bad. And they weren't going anywhere with him. And they didn't like the whining. They didn't like the lack of leadership. You ain't going to do that in that city. No way. Are you going to show up to Lincoln Financial and you're going to go out there and you're going to flop around on that field and they're going to sit there and give you more than 3 games? Screw that. That ain't working, kid. And that would have been for anybody on that Super Bowl team. You're not going to fart around Lincoln Financial for 3 games, and that fan base ain't going to come down on you. The fan base is supporting him right now. And more so than looking at the ability, here's what's the problem with the Philly fan base right now. They're hoping too much. There's no certainty. You don't have certainty on your offense. You have a lot of question marks. Is the kid good? You're starting there. Is he accurate? Can he withstand 17 games? I don't know. He got yanked in the middle of the SEC championship game by his head coach because he was failing in a big moment. I'm not even talking about transferring. Remember something. Jalen Hurts was benched in a national championship game. Okay, I mean, I'm just telling the story here. So the national championship game, or you're in a game that matters for the NFC East, and you're playing the Giants. Are you ready for that? Well, Giants aren't that. Dude, it's not like that. It's the Giants. It's a rival. It's funny, when I first got into the NFL, you know what I used to tell people all the time? Well, their record, they were 4-12 last year. It's funny, when I got and played those teams played just as good as the 49er teams did that won Super Bowls. You know what the difference was? Maybe 15 plays because they had Rice and Montana. You don't realize how close the talent is. And when you get in and you're playing against a 4-12 team versus a 12-4 team, I'm telling you, the difference isn't that much. The great players make 15 more plays in a game, and that's what separates the 4-12 versus the 12-4 teams. It's not like college football where you roll into a game and you know you're going to beat the pants off this team. that's not going to work. So, I mean, you got a lot of indecision. So that's the thing Haskins has to do. It's the same thing Jalen Hurts has to do. You got to build trust up. You know, right now in Philadelphia and with Dwayne Haskins, you know the only thing you have right now is, or maybe even more so San Francisco, all you have is hype. You know what hype means? Hope. You give a guy a lot of hype, you're hoping, correct? There's no certainty. I'm certain Aaron Rodgers is going to have a TD to interception ratio that's off the charts. I'm certain Tom Brady is going to be in a conversation for an MVP this year, maybe a Super Bowl. I'm certain that Russell Wilson is going to win that NFC West division. I'm certain that Patrick Mahomes is going to lead his team. You know what else I'm getting? I'm getting to this point with Josh Allen. I'm certain that guy's going to have a hell of a season. I'm certain that we're going to see, and I know I'm changing the answer a tad here, but I can give you a certainty. I'm certain that Justin Herbert's the answer in Los Angeles for the Chargers. It's funny, somebody asked me that about Matthew Stafford. Are you certain? No. No, I'm not. I'm not certain. So, Philly, certain? Am I certain in New York with the Giants? No. Jets? Never. New England? No. Lions? No. Jacksonville? Kind of. I want to see the kid play. For me to sit here and start throwing rose petals at the kid where, you know, Trevor Lawrence, play a game, dude. Play a game. And then we'll start talking about whether or not you're going to be the answer there in Jacksonville. There's been no answers in Jacksonville since Mark Brunell. And that is quite a bit ago. Okay, so again, the news is, what do the Colts do at this particular time? Do they stay in-house? Do they make a trade? Or do they go after Phillip Rivers? We'll reset that. I also want to hit on Big 12 and Pac-12. Look like they're going to try to tie in an agreement with one another to try to play against each other's teams. We'll do all that. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at IBEW98.org.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Champions on three. 1, 2, 3. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Welcome aboard the National Football Show. Your boy Dan Sileo. What quarterback in the NFL do you think becomes the first QB to go for 6,000 passing yards in a season? Who would have ever thought that? I'll tell you where I'm going here with this. Show you how different it is, you know, when it comes to the NFL and how the other leagues look at their record books versus how the NFL looks at their record books. NFL's not going to come up with a different set of rules or a different set of records. You know, back in the day, the NFL played 10 games, then it went to 12 games, then it went to 14 games, then it went to 16 games. Now it's at 17, and they're even talking maybe going to 18 games. Okay? So you're going to get a guy going for 6,000 yards. You'll probably get a guy throwing for almost 60 touchdowns, 55, somewhere in there. Maybe a guy breaks Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record, 2105. Receiving record, most catches in a season. No, he played more games. So what? No one cares in the NFL. See, in baseball, they do this. Well, you know, they played 154 games back in 1901. And I used to always go, yeah, it was a fat white guy beer drinking league back then. You didn't have diversity or minorities in your sport till 47, and you had one. I mean, not really. I mean, it's more like a cricket league, right? You know, softball guys that get hammered on Saturdays, bunch of fat white guys. That's what baseball was back in the day. There was no, like, diversity. Yeah, I hit 800 hits in one season. Who would you play? Johnny Limpscomb. You know, he was the butcher down around the corner. Guy was incredible. He could cut a chicken's head off, and he had a split-seam fastball that man, I'm just telling you, it was unbelievable. That's your guy. I had 800 hits off him, though. Yeah, great, dude. Whatever. If I have to get reel-to-reel to, like, watch your highlights, I don't know. Or if I have to take your helmet and put it in my back pocket and I can fold it up, I don't know. It's more like rugby. And you always have this, you know, steroid era with Bonds. You know, we have to keep Barry Bonds out of the Hall of Fame. You know what? It's funny. Anybody that gets busted for PED use in the NFL or steroids or anything, nobody cares. He's out 4 games. See in 4 games. You know, then the snowflake media and the snowflake fans, how should that guy be given an opportunity to make the Pro Bowl like Sean Merriman did? And he failed the drug test. Oh, okay. Are you a doctor now? Oh, you're a physician, or are you just a dumbass fan? Oh, I'm a dumbass fan. Typical. So what did football do? They put that in there. Whatever. NFL could care less. They change the rules every single year so that you're going to get more offense. You think the NFL wants to see Super Bowls 14-10 or football games 17-14? No. Why? Gambling. Prop bets. Fantasy football. Yeah, my boy Cal, man. Yeah. Fantasy on Fridays with my boys at PSU. Hanging out with Hank and Larry. We're Cindy and Kathy. Well, we don't know. We just hang out with the guys on a Friday night at PSU, baby. All good. They want to make sure. You want to make sure that guys like Cal, hey, did you see my receiver, man? DeAndre Hopkins? I traded for him last week. This dude just got 3 touchdowns, 148 yards and receptions. You think they want to see that guy with 2 catches with like 50 yards? Absolutely not. Baseball's the only people that concern themselves with that. Well, PED use, the records don't count. Oh, God. Snowflake. Nobody cares. Baseball was at its best during the steroid era. There, I said it. When you had home runs flying out of ballparks, guys hitting 50, 60 home runs every year, you had baseball with some of the greatest records of all time. And you had some of the highest ratings of all time. It was off the charts. Oh, and for the record, do you know why baseball came down on PED use? Why do you think it came down on PED use? Typical snowflake fans. Well, it changed the game. The rule book. The records. No, dorks. The reason they did it was because the owners were getting sick and tired of paying the DHs in the league $25 million. They're all juiced up. The ball's juiced up. They're hitting 50 home runs. And you know what? It's a difference in paying a guy $15 million versus $25 million. So they took the steroids out of the game, and they controlled the game by juicing the baseball up and down instead of the players up and down, because the players had control of their incomes doing that. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens made over $250 million in their salary career after the age of 37. Made $250 million. You think they give a crap about the stupid Hall of Fame? Making $250 million? Yeah, but these guys will never be in the Hall of Fame. Okay. Never be in the Hall of Fame. I just made $250 million. Hello. Hey, Forrest. Did you hear what I said? I made $250 million. Baseball, they basically have made the game boring. Football is not going to do that. They're juicing the sport up. They want guys like my boy Cal go, hey, man, my fantasy team's kicking ass this year. I'm not going to have a lot of time to go on dates because, I got to make trades. Friday with Larry and Harry, we got to get our team going. Hey, man, Cindy, I'll get with you after the season. I'm playing for the Super Bowl here, and I'm playing for a championship. And more importantly, I'm playing for dough. They want 1 billion cows because that's what the NFL doesn't care. The NFL doesn't care about records. 6,000 passing yards? Hell, they hope 3 players do it. In baseball, a guy hits 50 bombs. Well, it must be juicing. Who cares? Who cares? Oh, that's right. I forgot, because we're here to believe that the owners in sports care about the health. Yeah. Huh. We care about the health of the players. Yeah, okay. There's some land in South Florida. It's on stilts. It's kind of shaky, but hey, it's pretty prosperous. Better get it before the rainy season, though. Okay? Just get it before the rainy season here. All right. So, little college football news here. So, the Big 12 is doing everything they possibly can to stay above float, right? Keep their head above water. So now they've reached out to another conference that's kind of on vapors themselves, and that's the Pac-12. Pac-12, man. Larry Scott, the commissioner of that conference for decades, ran that thing into the toilet. Just ran it into the toilet. It's a non-factor conference. Washington's been kind of good. Oregon's good. But watch, Arizona State, Arizona, USC has not been USC. UCLA with Chip Kelly, every Eagle fan will go, well, I can tell you that one. He doesn't have the same resources that he had when he was at Oregon. You know what Chip Kelly looks like now? He kind of looks like a fair coach at best. Utah's good, but Stanford's kind of good. It's the kind of good league. the Pac-12. Then you got the Big 12 now. It's being projected that they're going to lose over 50% of their revenue because OU and Texas has decided to do the right thing and go to the SEC. Why would I watch any of the – watch this. Think of those schools that they have left behind. Would I watch a USC game? Probably. But it would depend who they're playing. If you're playing a Big 12 team, Kansas, no. Oklahoma State, maybe. Oregon, probably. Stanford, no. Utah, maybe. My point is, remember something. Guys like my guys, Cal and Krause. Krause's more of a college football guy, and so is Cal. So they're different, but they're from big cities. People from big cities in the Northeast don't care about college football. They could care less. They're pro cities. You think they cover Temple in Philly? Or you think they cover Rutgers in New York? They don't do that. They barely cover Maryland. And the only reason the Big Ten went into Rutgers and Maryland was because they wanted the DC TV markets and the New York market. Had nothing to do with sports. Well, you think Rutgers all of a sudden is going to become a great college football power? Or Maryland? Maryland's kind of decent. But they've never been the same since they left the ACC. They'll never be anything like that again. Okay? There's very few schools. Watch this. Alabama, Auburn. I'm in. LSU, A&M. I'm going to watch that. Tennessee, Florida. Damn straight. Georgia, Florida. Damn straight. Texas, OU. Red River rivalry. Damn right I'm watching that. The SEC has made visibility for the college football fan. And you know what sucks? The SEC has made it more regionalized, college football. College football is losing viewership because the SEC is so powerful. You think anybody in California or New York gives a rat's ass if Alabama and Clemson play again for the national title? They're not going to watch that game. Let me give you for instance. I played in the highest rated college football game in the history of college football. We had 27 shares when we played Penn State and Miami in 1987's Fiesta Bowl. It's still to this day, 100 million people watched it. Why was that? We were both independent. It was good versus evil. It had the whole dynamic. Jimmy Johnson versus Joe Paterno. We had a Heisman Trophy. We showed up in fatigues. We had machine guns in our hands. We had grenades. We were the renegades. We were the convicts from Miami, convicts and Catholics, when we played Notre Dame. That was intriguing. The President of the United States, President Reagan, showed up. Costas was live. I mean, the whole thing, man, it was the very first time they moved the bowl game to January 2nd. And we're out there in front of 100 million people. Days like USC and Texas, that was intriguing football before college football decided to allow the networks to ruin it. And now what you're doing now is you're picking up the pieces here with the Pac-12 and the Big 12 trying to put some sort of like deal together. These are just collateral damages. After OU and Texas leaving to go to the SEC, I mean, there's really nothing left to sit around and look at college football and go like this. The ratings are continue to go down. And it's going to be an issue where, without a doubt, okay, that you're going to have to go this way. You're going to go like this, SEC football. It's like the Premier League. All right. So, haven't spoken a little bit about Aaron Rodgers in a bit. And I got to tell you what's going on. And I actually like it. As they get ready for the upcoming season, Aaron Rodgers and the general manager, Gutekunst, are are working on their relationship. It's a work in progress. But what they're doing is they're trying to get to reconciliation. And you still have Jordan Love on the team. You're hearing Rodgers after every scrimmage now, and the GM and Kevin Murphy, the president, doing this. Rodgers looks great. He's just so prepared. We're really lucky to have Aaron here, and we're going to do everything in our power to keep Aaron here. Aaron wants to be a Green Bay Packer. We want Aaron to be a Green Bay Packer. What I think is going on here is I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to leave Green Bay the same way Brett Favre did. Because the only way you're going to be revered by Packer fans is how you leave that place. Remember how Favre left? Packer fans had a problem with him. The organization had a problem with him. It took years of reconciliation after his playing days for him and them to be able to come to some type of retirement for the jersey, the Packer Ring of Honor. By the way, that Packer Ring of Honor is one of the greatest Ring of Honors in the league. I would say this to you. The greatest Ring of Honors in the NFL are the Bears, Steelers, maybe the 49ers, clearly the Packers, the Giants. Would you throw Philly in there? Remember, one Super Bowl, championships in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and I believe the 60 championship too with Bednarik. So there were championships there. That could probably be in the conversation. Washington. Okay? He doesn't want to go out this way. Aaron Rodgers wants to go out a Packer. I don't blame him. He should want to go out a Green Bay Packer. Why should he want to go out any other way? He's got a team built around him. But what I'm saying here is that the general manager and him are working on a relationship to try to repair some of the offseason dialogue that went back and forth that was not needed. You know, this could actually galvanize these guys as they move forward. Hey, and for the record, how many years did Aaron Rodgers sit behind Brett Favre or Steve Young behind Joe Montana? I mean, you could probably make an argument that those players sat behind those legendary guys for 5 years before they got their opportunity to play. If you're Jordan Love, do you mind? And look, if we're not talking about sitting behind Bob Rodgers, you're sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. And for the record, I personally don't think Green Bay thinks Jordan Love's ready to play. So, in this whole process here, I think it's really great on what we're seeing here. We're seeing an opportunity here for these two guys to maybe mend fences and have an opportunity at making a chance to bring him back, and maybe Aaron Rodgers ends up retiring a Green Bay Packer. All right. I do want to hit on the Hall of Fame game. And also, Tom Brady, is he taking a shot at Bill Belichick? We'll do that next. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, Go for a drive. Grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 to 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Welcome back to the National Football Show. Dan Sileo. Just been informed that we're kind of like freezing a little bit. Well, when you're in a state of windmills, that's how our power is generated, windmills. So I'm hoping the windmill keeps it going at least to the top of the hour. How pathetic can you get? One of the worst run states on the planet. No wonder the governor's being recalled. Oh, by the way, New York and California, congratulations. Both trying to get your governors out of the building. Classic. I mean, right? Yeah, it feels you're freezing a little. Yeah, well, it's California, bro. I'm like, my power's predicated off of windmills and making sure geese don't fly into them. I mean, what the hell do you want? It's Cali. Going back to Cali. I hope some of you know what that is. Anyway. So he was asked the question, he being Tom Brady, at practice yesterday, and I got a soundbite sent to me. And I was watching it, and I was thinking to myself, now, is it just me being a conspiracy theory dude where I do this? Like, right? Watch. Well, what do you think he means by that? You know that guy, right? What do you think he means by that? Are you making that story up? Do you think he means this? You know that guy. I hate that guy too. Gee, I wonder what he's thinking. Do you really think he thinks that? I don't know if he really thinks that. You sit around, you go like this. Bro, I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what the hell he's thinking. I can only go by what he said. Well, you know what? Maybe that's not what he thinks. I don't want to be that guy. But I thought it was intriguing because he was asked the question, Tom, you know, the last 2 years, it's been completely different. Social media, you're posting, you know, you're more vocal. You know what Brady said? I'm paraphrasing this. Brady goes like this. You know, I think I've, over the last 2 years, have found my voice. What? Yeah, because, you know, when you've done something for so long and you get a chance to maybe broaden your horizons and you go somewhere else and, you know, you thought one way was the way to do it. You know, I kind of found myself a little bit, you know, in Tampa, and it was a lot of fun. And, you know, I think I've just found my voice. So was he saying that Brady and Belichick, in a way where that relationship was that Bill Belichick silenced his voice in New England because that's the way that the New England way was that everybody around the room didn't say anything, couldn't say anything. Your personality was barely on display. Now, some would go, what about Gronk? Right, I agree. But maybe, Gronk came later in Brady's career. He came a little bit later. So, end of the day here, is Brady taking a shot at Belichick in the way that he handled him for 20 years personally? Could this be the reason, besides the fact that they were not retooling the football team when Tom Brady was there? On one of the reasons why that exit was not a friendly exit? Now, I will say this, that divorce is probably as good a divorce as you're ever going to get with a guy that won 6 Super Bowls. You didn't really think that was just going to be, hey, man, thank you very much. Here's a handshake. Both guys part ways. Fans not going to be pissed off, especially when you watch a guy go down to another team and win a Super Bowl. You can't think that was something that New England had a good year last year. Right? New England had a horrible year last year. Not only did they not make the playoffs, they were under 500, and the guy they had for 20 years goes down to Tampa and wins a Super Bowl in his own building. I'm thinking that's not a good year. And then Brady keeps throwing these little subtle, I'm a different guy now. And, I'm a different dude. And my wife and I are a little bit more open with some of the things. And maybe that's just the style also of Bruce Arians. I was asked, one of my guys I think it was Cal, said, you think Arians is a Hall of Fame coach? I think Bruce Arians is a Hall of Fame person. I think that it starts there. When you're a Hall of Fame person, I think your ability and opportunity to become an all-time coach, an all-time person, a guy that people and players will revere and fans and all that. I think when you're an all-time person, like Dick Vermeil was an all-time person, is an all-time person. Marty Schottenheimer was an all-time person, great coach. Those are the genuine guys in the building that you revere, and it starts there. And Bruce's influence, by the way, if you want to hear the Bruce Arians interview that we did right here on the National Football Show, you can go to the JAKIB Media channel, the National Football Show channel, and the Bruce Arians interview is there. He was candid. He was open. I asked him about his future, and it's all there for you. Just thinking back on me asking him his future, that future kind of was put in play a little bit today. I'm going to hit on that a little bit here. But I thought that was interesting that Tom Brady is having a bet. Get this. Would Bruce Arians have won with Tom Brady as many Super Bowls, or would they have won more because it was a better environment for Brady to succeed in? Brady's showing you it really doesn't matter where he was. Brady was going to win championships, right? It's now up to Belichick to win. Brady's proven the point. That story and that part of his resume, and you know what some will say? Well, maybe he learned it, from Bill Belichick. I don't think so. I think that was instilled in Tom Brady from day one. Remember what one of the first comments was that Tom Brady gave Bob Kraft when he first got there? He goes, Mr. Kraft, drafting me will be the greatest decision of your life. Remember, they took him in the 6th round. Bob Kraft must have went like this. Who's this guy? Brady's saying this as a 6th rounder. Greatest decision you ever made in your life. Can't think it wasn't, at least professionally, football-wise. Right? This guy's saying that then. I think we're giving Bill Belichick way too much credit. I think that guy was the reason, and I think 70% of the reason that they won in New England. When I look at the Patriots right now, I go like this. They're kind of good. And before Brady stepped on the field when they were playing Bledsoe, they were kind of good. As a matter of fact, they didn't even have a 500 record yet. Bill got fired from Cleveland. We were talking about what did Art Modell say to Bob Kraft when he hired him as the head coach of the Patriots? Worst decision you'll ever make in your life. It wasn't so much the worst decision. You know what Bill got lucky on? He chose right. When it came to picking the Holy Grail, death or success. He chose right. He chose the grail that got him those 6 titles. That's not coaching. That's luck. The rest of it is Brady filling in the chapters of the book. Am I right when I say that? Am I reading this wrong here? And now Brady, to me, is sounding a little bit more like, well, I wish I could have been a little bit more like me. And you know what I think he's really saying? That I wish I could have enjoyed my journey a little more. And I wish we could have enjoyed ourselves more, because as soon as we won something, or as soon as we won a Super Bowl, there was Bill pounding the rock again. Go to do it again. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, there's no question that wears you out like that. So I think it's more of a kind of a shot there a little bit. Bruce Arians, as a Hall of Fame coach, he wins another Super Bowl. I think you're going to have the fact that people are going to say, well, look at what he did for Ben Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger was never the same when Arians left Pittsburgh as the offensive coordinator. He was the guy also that started implementing Antonio Brown into the offense along with Le'Veon Bell. And Pittsburgh, for whatever reason, moved off of Bruce. Bruce told me personally, he was devastated when the Steelers moved off him because it was kind of a coaching and organizational decision. I wonder what the Steelers think about that, because Bruce Arians is a hell of a coach. What happens? Bruce goes to Indianapolis, and my old linebacker coach, Chuck Pagano, dear friends with Chuck. I love Chuck. I think Chuck's the DC in Chicago now. I may be wrong. I thought he was the defensive coordinator in Chicago. But Chuck was with me at Miami. It's funny. You know what Chuck Pagano was when he was at Miami for the first time? When I was there, he was a GA. And the other GA was Tommy Tuberville, who's a United States Senator right now. These guys used to check beds, seeing that we were in. These guys worked for Jimmy Johnson. And Chuck is a great guy. Remember, Chuck got cancer, and he had to step away from the game for a little bit. Bruce got the interim job. I think Bruce is the only guy in NFL history ever to win the Coaching of the Year award as an interim head coach. Then he goes to Arizona, and those teams are damn good, right? He goes to Arizona. Those teams are awful good, man. And he was winning ball games with Carson Palmer, who was another throwaway guy. Now you have him with Brady, and he's winning a Super Bowl. They win another one. How about this? If they even get to the NFC Championship game, you're going to make a strong conversation. Hey, how about this? You think Tony Dungy's really a Hall of Fame NFL head coach? You think Dungy's a better coach than Arians? You think Tony over or underachieved in Indianapolis? He had Peyton Manning and he won one Super Bowl. You think he over or underachieved? And personally, I think the Tampa job was his better job of coaching, because he changed a crappy organization that was a perennial loser into a team that started winning games. Let's not forget something here. Dungy's front office, along with Rich McKay, they drafted Derek Brooks and Warren Sapp in the same draft. How many times do you draft a Hall of Fame guy in a draft, let alone two in the same draft? They did that with Sapp and Brooks. They brought in John Lynch, Rondé Barber. They traded for Simeon Rice. All of that stuff was under Tony Dungy. Still didn't win, though, did he? He didn't have the quarterback in the room. He had Trent Dilfer. Dilfer goes on to win a Super Bowl with the Ravens. But when I compare the coaches, you look at Bruce Arians and go like this: Dungy's a better coach. I don't think that's that clear cut. And the fact of the diversity that he had also in his coaching staff. He's got a woman on his coaching staff that's a true assistant coach. She is the assistant strength and conditioning coach. That's a big gig. That's $300,000-400,000. She's not making, she's just not some, well, here's a job for a woman, so we could say we hired a woman. That's a big job, man. It really is. And so he wins another Super Bowl. I think he outdid. I think he would have outdone Tony Dungy. All right. I believe we're going to get Coach Steve Spurrier on tomorrow. Changed the Southeastern Conference and did a little coaching in the NFL. What went wrong there and why he thought maybe it failed with Washington when he took that job. He had a 5-year, $25 million deal. So we'll talk to him tomorrow. I really appreciate it. Krause, great stuff. Cal, thank you so much. Big Joe. Till tomorrow, 4 to 6 Eastern time, the National Football Show. We will catch you on the flip side.